Captain Elias Ward sat in the shadows of the abandoned deck, his breath echoing in the stale air, every corner of the alien station whispering with the cold silence of neglect. The aliens had thrown him here like a piece of trash, stripping him of his tools, his gear, even the smallest chance of survival, believing the darkness and hunger would finish him soon enough. Yet, as the hours turned into days, Elias began to see what they had overlooked. This forgotten place was not just a prison, it was a graveyard of machines, broken systems, and old technology that the arrogant aliens had discarded. To them, it was useless. To him, it was opportunity. He touched the cracked panels and felt the hum of dying circuits, his engineer's mind already working on possibilities. Fear and despair tried to creep into him, but anger kept them at bay. Every memory of their mocking laughter, every sneer when they called humans weak primitives, hardened his will. Elias was not going to rot here. He was going to rise from it. Alone in the dark, with nothing but his hands and his mind, he began to see a path forward, one that the aliens would never expect. Elias moved carefully through the deserted corridors, his body weak from hunger, but his mind sharper than ever, every step a reminder that he was still alive and not yet beaten. The alien station was enormous, a mix of old technology and newer additions, and while most sections above were brightly lit and full of guards, the lower levels were abandoned, forgotten, and filled with broken parts the aliens thought had no value. To Elias, those scraps were treasure. He scavenged cracked power cells, worn-out drones, rusted pipes, and shattered control panels, dragging them back to a small chamber he had claimed as his own. With every piece he found, his little workshop grew, and with every spark of repaired circuitry, his determination grew stronger. He was no soldier, no diplomat, but he was an engineer, and engineers had always shaped the future with their hands. The more he built, the less he felt like a prisoner. His thin body trembled with exhaustion, yet his eyes burned with focus as he stripped alien tech apart, learning its secrets and bending it to his will. The memory of the aliens laughing at him, leaving him to starve, fueled every decision. They had thought hunger would make him weak, but it only sharpened his resolve. He was not surviving anymore. He was preparing. The air hummed with the faint life of machines that should have been silent, and the once dead deck was slowly turning into something new, something dangerous. Elias knew he could not fight them openly yet, but he also knew the day would come when the aliens would regret ever leaving him alive. In the silence of the abandoned station, a single human was beginning to reshape his fate. The station began to change under Elias's hands, and what had once been a forgotten graveyard of machines now stirred with new life as sparks leapt across patched circuits and humming power conduits lit the dark halls with a faint glow. He worked without rest, turning every broken panel and abandoned drone into something useful, and soon the silence of the lower decks was broken by the steady rhythm of systems coming back online. The old defense turrets that had not fired in decades twitched as he rewired their controls, and drones once programmed to clean corridors were rebuilt into sentries that hovered like loyal guardians at his command. Pipes rattled, engines coughed awake, and the shadows themselves seemed to pulse with energy as Elias shaped the dead station into a fortress. He felt his body growing weaker, yet the machines around him made him stronger, and for the first time since his capture, he felt the balance of power shift. Above, the aliens carried on their routines, blind to the rising storm beneath their feet, unaware that the human they had abandoned was now the heart of something dangerous. Elias stood in the command hub he had repaired, his reflection flickering on cracked screens as systems aligned to his will, and in that moment he no longer felt like a prisoner. The station obeyed him, the machines listened to him, and his mind burned with the knowledge that this place was no longer theirs. It was his. The aliens had left him to die, but instead they had given him time, tools, and the perfect hiding place. As the war machine stirred awake, Elias knew the day of reckoning was close, and when it came, they would never see it coming. The first sign that something was wrong came when a patrol of alien soldiers entered the lower decks and never returned, their signals vanishing as if swallowed by the shadows, and though their commanders blamed faulty trackers, whispers of fear began to spread among the crew. Elias had been waiting for this moment, and his hidden machines struck with silent precision, sealing doors, cutting power, and unleashing drones that attacked with sudden bursts of energy before melting back into the dark. The aliens did not understand what they were facing. They thought it was sabotage, perhaps a rival faction or a system failure, but every incident was carefully planned by the human they had forgotten. He waged his war like a ghost, turning their own station against them piece by piece, and the once arrogant overlords now jumped at every flicker of light, every hum of machinery they did not recognize. Elias never revealed himself, choosing instead to watch from the screens he had rewired, seeing their confusion grow, their discipline break, and their fear sharpen with every unexplained loss. Corridors they once walked without worry became death traps as doors crushed them, gases leaked in controlled bursts, and drones struck with inhuman speed. The aliens tried to send more troops, but the deeper they went, the more they disappeared, until the lower levels became forbidden territory whispered about in terror. To Elias, every victory was a reminder that one man with a mind and will could turn weakness into strength, and he knew the time to stay in the shadows was ending. The war he was fighting was no longer about survival, it was about control, and soon the entire station would know whose hands it truly belonged to. He was not their prisoner anymore, he was their hunter, and the station was his battlefield. The moment finally came when Elias no longer needed to hide, and with a steady hand, he activated the systems he had spent weeks building, the entire station shuddering as if it were waking from a long sleep. Alarms blared through the upper decks, lights flickered, and the alien commanders rushed to control rooms only to discover their authority was gone. Their commands ignored as doors sealed them inside and weapons turned to face them. The voice that echoed through the speakers was calm and steady, carrying across every corridor, "You left me to die. You forgot what humans do when cornered we build." Panic spread like fire as the outpost transformed before their eyes, walls splitting open to reveal hidden turrets, drones swarming in perfect formation, and engines that had been dead for decades roaring back to life under his control. The station was no longer a prison or even a base. It was a war machine reborn with Elias as its commander. The alien fleet outside tried to respond, but plasma cannons and missile bays unfolded like the claws of a predator, tearing through their ships with ruthless precision. The survivors fled into the void, carrying with them a story that would echo across their empire that a single human had turned exile into vengeance, turning their own fortress into his weapon. Alone in the command chair, Elias felt no triumph, only a quiet certainty that humanity would never again be underestimated, for he had proven that even abandoned and forgotten, a human could rise, fight, and reshape the battlefield itself.